Well, the message sent by this humongous, and I really mean humongous, march and rally of opponents of Catalan independence today on Sunday, October 8th, could not be more emphatic. And it is that if Catalan independence is to be won, it certainly will not be won without a long and hard-fought struggle, both in Parliament at the level of government, but also, perhaps more importantly, in the streets. This is the first time, I think, that the opponents of Catalan independence have appeared on the streets of Barcelona in such huge numbers. This is an old Spain rally, it should be borne in mind, but my guess is that a large proportion of those who are here today are Catalans. A lot of passion, a lot of anger, and a palpable sense of celebration of Spanish unity evident here today. I have to say though, there's far more passion than politics. I've been here for a few hours and it's symptomatic of the emotions that national identity inflame. What is essentially a battle over flags, because nationalism, strip away the embroidery, is really just an empty vessel. It's the politics, or at least the dominant politics, that are poured into this vessel which determine whether it is regressive or progressive in character. But it seems incongruous that in the 21st century that dominant politics are of separatism, are of independence of small states within larger states, especially given that the economic forces which govern our lives, well, they're global in dimension. And what I think has to be remembered most of all is that this issue, the issue of Scottish independence, Brexit in the UK, the election of Trump in the US in 2016, the ongoing conflict and crisis and chaos in the Middle East, where an Arab Spring in 2011 quickly morphed into an Arab Winter by the end of 2011 going into 2012. These are all symptoms of an ongoing crisis within global capitalism, which erupted across the planet in 2008. In Spain, youth unemployment sits at 50%. And yet, despite this, the only answer that the so-called masters of the universe, the bankers, the heads of global corporations, the economic elite, and governments which extend themselves in governing on their behalf and in their interests, despite the rhetoric to the contrary, the only answer they have had thus far to this crisis is to impose more neoliberalism in the form of brutal and barbaric and draconian austerity programs, thus exacerbating the crisis. But this has given rise to this kind of politics here, these kind of emotions, people believing that separation is the answer to really what are economic issues. And it strikes me that people would be much more advantaged if their focus was less on the flag which flies over the municipal building in their city and on the economic model which underpins that flag, which underpins their governments. Do we continue with neoliberalism, with the economy set up as a tyrant over the lives of the majority of people in society? An economic model that demands that society serves it rather than it serving society? Or do we strike out for something new, a different economic model? And that seems to be what has been missing, certainly in any appreciable way over the last few years. Yes, we've seen Corbyn rise with something approximating to a departure from the status quo, but there's still issues there, I think. The Labour Party has been wedded for the last 20 or 30 years to this neoliberal model on the basis of TINA, there is no alternative. And Corbyn and his supporters, I think, still have a lot of work to do to turn that ship around completely. But certainly it's going in the right direction for the many, not the few. The alternative is this. The alternative is separation. The alternative is the polarisation of constitutional politics. Neoliberalism is dead. It doesn't work. It's a bankrupt economic model. Always has been. Pregnant with crises, with contradictions. And those who continue to maintain that it is the only game in town, well, they are just like, as Karl Marx famously and, as events prove, presciently wrote in his famous Communist Manifesto, they are like sorcerers who are no longer able to control the powers of the netherworld they have called up by their spells. They are responsible for this. They are responsible for all this animosity and this separation and these passions that have been unleashed. This is not to say that people do not have the right to self-determination. Of course they do, but in an advanced industrialised economy, I think the only determination that people of consciousness should be fighting for is the self-determination of the working class. But anyway, it's been a very educative day for me, coming here to see how things are on the ground, taking the temperature of the place. So this is John White in the centre of Barcelona on Sunday, October 8th.